Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Good morning, everyone. J-Pac Luca, JP's Talk About Town. Now, we're making it through another week. Holy cow, what a week.
Says you.
Well, the Olympics have been fun to watch. They really have.
I fell asleep in the end of right around the end of the first period.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's already
Maple Leaf was
talked about
packed
it.
until 2:30 in the morning.
So it was. Yeah, didn't they kick them out of there before the... No, they did.
No, they stayed open
game.
until the end, yeah.
Yeah, they did finish the game there.
Our good friend Dennis Akins was over there at the Maple Leaf.
Oh, was he?
Yes, with the
Good
family.
for him.
I think that's where the family watched the game.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did see Casey's sister, a picture in the paper. Casey's sister and all their friends were over there. So we're going to stop down the skating rink today and ski and see what happens. Yeah, see what they have planned for Casey's homecoming. Something will be coming up on that, I'm sure. Yeah. So we'll...
I know we're efforting to get her on a show.
Efforting?
Efforting, yes, that's what they call it.
Is that a real word?
Yes.
Efforting?
Yes.
I would have said making plans to.
Efforting.
Okay. So we hope...
Apparently I'm also going to be... I found out last night that I'm going to be at the Irish Cultural Center on Wednesday, March 14th to get ready for the St. Patrick's Day extravaganza weekend.
Really?
Mayor Reichel will be doing a show over there, so I have to convince Tina to do a show over there. And I also have to talk to Kate Phelan from Westfield, the Westfield Chamber of Commerce, to see if she either wants to give up her show for the day or do it over there.
Either way, it sounds like a wonderfully Irish day.
It shall be. It's beautiful. Have you been over to the Irish Cultural Center?
Not since they redid it. Last time I was over there, it was what was it before? An Elks Club.
Elks Club, yes.
Yeah. In fact, I'd been both in that building as well as done gigs out in the pavilion behind. Yeah. That's a nice place back there. It was at one time, summertime. That was a really nice place to be.
Yeah. So the town owns all of it now.
Okay.
And they leased the building to the Irish Cultural Center.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard they put a restaurant in, or they operated an Irish pub with
there,
Irish
yes.
food and.
Correct. Yes, it's the food beverage program is run by the Log Cabin Group or the Delaney House Group.
Well, it's all the same.
Yeah, it's all
people.
the same.
Yeah,
That's run by that group. So
outstanding. It must be good food then.
It was. Rick Barry and I had a couple of tasty appetizers, and we supported our mayor in a mayor versus mayor bartender challenge last night.
By the way, I should say happy birthday to Mr. Rick Berry. He celebrated.
You missed it.
Yeah,
you missed
I
the
know.
party.
He had some old man birthday party or something last weekend. So
Yes.
yeah. So happy birthday, Mr. Berry. Rick is a great supporter of many good causes here in town, and it's kind of cool to see people toss a party for the man. And so that was
It was
nice.
fun. We had a good time.
Hey, yeah,
speedy recovery to Mr. Berry, Patrick Berry,
a speedy recovery.
because he goes in for surgery today.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. It always does.
He's a healthy man, so he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna know what to do with himself for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, he is one of those people that's busy, and yeah, I'm that way too.
Yeah.
You know, what do you mean I can't do anything for a while? How long is a while? More than a few hours? I'm in trouble.
Oh, see, the last time I was in the hospital, I brought my laptop with me, and I was still doing work in the hospital.
That was me. 3 weeks. I'm out in the ICU in Boston, and yeah, I had the laptop. I'm just doing work. Otherwise, I would have climbed the walls.
It was funny. It was during the summertime. I was in the hospital, and I don't remember what I was in there for, but I had the laptop and my cell phone, and a nurse comes in, and I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and I'm typing stuff in, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm directing a storm chase for Chris Pavino and Danny Lorenzati."
There's just weird people in the world, and you're one of them.
She goes, "You're doing what?" She's looking at the thing. There's radars up. And she goes, "You really are doing that?" I'm like, "Yep."
Well, they had a Wi-Fi in the room. The little antenna was up on the wall. I said, "That's for me, right?" Well, not really, but okay. So,
Does the VPN work?
yeah. So, hey, on our golden age of radio today, we're going to put a smile on your face with an episode of Jack Benny. Jack Benny's going to the beach. That puts a visual in your head that I'm not sure that's going to go away real quick. But, yeah, Jack Benny will be spending time on the beach, give you a little preview of what summer might be ahead of you.
Now,
and
Chester.
then in our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be having a couple of guests, a couple of Marks in the room.
Yes.
Mark Auerbach and Mark Gianfrido, and we're going to be talking all about the big broadcast.
Yesterday on Wednesday on the Arts Beat radio show, we had Brian Lapis.
Really?
Fred Kelly was on.
Well, son of a gun.
Yeah, we're all over the big broadcast here.
Mr. Lapis himself from Channel 22.
He called in on the telephone.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Lapis has been part of this show for many, many years. I'm not sure if it's from the beginning.
No.
Okay.
Dan Elias did it originally.
Okay.
22 News anchor Dan Elias did it. And he was wrapping it up because I think he was going to a new job.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Brian, I think, if he'd be interested in it. And Brian said, you can listen to the interview. But he picked it up from there. And I think it's his 10th year.
Now, Brian was in radio in Willimantic, Connecticut for a while, right?
Yep. He said he started out actually on the stage.
Was it?
And the radio led out of his drama interests.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool.
And he says it's just kind of continued. He says the weather thing is kind of out of my drama interest too. Drama and entertaining, he said. Great interview they did with him on the phone.
I'll have to. People can still look that up on YouTube now, right?
Yeah, there's a WSKB community radio channel on YouTube now.
Okay.
You won't hear any of the music because the copyrighted thing. We've already talked about that.
Don't need the music.
We've already talked about that with Mr. Delisle. We talked about that. He's not happy about it either, but it is what it is.
That's all right. You want to hear the music, you can plug in your YouTube.
You can listen to us live.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, we're streaming worldwide at WSKB.org. That
apparently
hasn't gone away.
Our rights cover that part of it. They just don't cover the recording.
It's live.
Yes.
And we were talking about that last night with a couple of radio people, and I have a feeling it comes from the Napster rulings.
Oh, yeah. No, it all comes from that. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Yep.
It all comes from that, but it's gone. They went too far because they killed internet broadcasters. They did because it cost too much. I looked at the rights fees for internet broadcasting. That's why I folded up atomicradio.us.
Too much.
It was too expensive. And it was too expensive for a hobby. Like most internet broadcasters are hobbyists.
Right.
It's too expensive for a hobby. The Poco Jammer guys do it because there's a lot of them. And they have enough enough advertising on the website just to meet their costs. That's all they go for. But we're lucky to have those guys on Saturday mornings. They go commercial free, ad free while they're on WSKB. They do it for a reason because they know we can't. So they want to be on the FM and they conform to that. So
and when does
we're
the
glad to
polkas
have
run?
them.
When do the polkas run?
We run them from 6 to 10. So 6 to 8:30 is their automation system or recorded shows, and then 8:30 to 10. When students are here, it's 8:30 to 10. We run Billy Bellina live from his house in Chicopee. He's on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're not here, he goes till noon, so we extend him out a little bit.
Outstanding. And
Yeah.
that's on what day?
Saturdays.
Every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding.
Yep.
All right. On the other side of the break, we're going to be talking about the Lip Sync Battle, a benefit for the Senior Center. And don't forget, straight ahead is going to be our Golden Age of Radio with Jack Benny. And then at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock, we're going to be talking about the big broadcast. This is JPEG Luca, Pete Coles on the other side of the board. We'll be back right after this.
and Noble College bookstore at Westfield State University, right here in the Ely Campus Center. Whether you're a student, faculty member, or friend of the university, it's the place to shop. Everything from Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise to all of your academic needs. Offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Visit the bookstore on campus or online at www.westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut shops of Westfield and the Sardina family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
He rules the roost on Thursday from 6 till 10. It's Patrick Berry.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And this is JPEG Luca. JP's Talk About Town. Pete Cole's on the other side of the board. We're just talking about all
The printing
kinds
business.
of cool things. Printing business off air.
We
We're talking about
both
the printing
worked
business.
in print shops. I worked in a place called Windsor Marketing Group that my dad actually worked at. He was a delivery driver.
Son of
We
a
do
gun.
Stop and Shop. We do Shaw's. We do Star Market at the time. Now they're combined. We would do Kroger, part of Kroger out in the
I didn't
Midwest.
know that Shaw's and Star were that close years ago. I thought they were two separate entities.
They were.
Okay.
But then Shaw's bought Star
One
Market.
bought the other?
And they
Okay.
kept the name
Okay.
because they were in the same areas, but they had niches. So
Yep.
yeah, so they bought. We were doing what was it? Surefine at the time. We were doing Biggies. We were doing all these little ones, but then there's like groups, groups that. But we do all the shelf signs, so all the stuff that you used to see on
With
the
the-
shelves.
yeah, the fish-
nobody does that anymore.
Shelf talkers. No,
I don't see 'em anymore.
Yeah, no, they do. They do coupons. They do a little blinking red light on the shelf.
Sometimes you'll see occasional ones, but we did 3x5 cards,
Right.
And we did 7x11s.
But what happened was they started getting cluttered. There were so many of them.
Oh
going
God,
down.
yeah. We used to have a rack. It looked like a mailroom rack. There was like 4 of them. So they'd print by zone. So like each zone had different sales of the market. So
Yeah.
Stop and Shop was like 100 and something. And just in this area, not Giants, Stop and Shop. And they'd print them out and you'd tear them apart and you'd sort them by hand.
And, you know,
Because there's
for
no
the-
easy way to do it.
And for those of you that are the family shoppers, sometimes moms, sometimes dads, usually dads under protest, but
I
yeah, well, we all end up in a supermarket at one time. You know, you wonder. There is actually a science to what gets put on sale week to week to week.
There's a science in how the grocery store is laid out.
Yeah, there is. And that was amazing to me. That was one of my first jobs. I was working a produce department by day, and then at night I was stocking the grocery shelves.
Yep.
I had that kind of time in my hands, and if I wasn't making money, I was getting in trouble somewhere, so I might as well make money. So I'd work through the night stocking shelves, and there was a crew of us that we had a ball.
Yep.
Yeah, we got the work done fast. It was a good time.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care if you're done early as long as you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
I did the floors overnight at the shop right by my house. I was the floor guy.
Yeah.
So I'd maintain the floors every night.
First jobs. Some people had pretty good first jobs. I know I
Mine wasn't
made a
too
lot
bad.
of good friends back then, and doing all of that. So then moved from that into driving a truck, and then somehow got lucky and started fixing things all over in southern New England.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're
I
still
got a
doing that.
company car. That's all I
Yeah.
remember in the interview. I get a company car? So,
Yeah, because you'll be driving your entire life away. It's like Eddie Rabbit.
yeah, well, hey, it's not a bad thing. This is JPEG Luca. Hey, before we run into Golden Age of Radio, I want to talk for a minute about the lip sync battle coming up over at the Senior Center on Sunday, March 4th. What time is that all firing up?
I think it starts at 2 o'clock.
Okay, so it's running for the afternoon. Now,
Yeah.
if people want to find out more, then it's still room to sign up. If you have your lip sync team or you want to be a lip sync entrant, you may do so by going to...
Yeah, you contact the Westfield Senior Center right now. And Tina's still looking for a few more teams. So you go to the Westfield Senior Center.
Yep.
Register your team. First prize is $200 for your favorite program or charity, part of your group. Second prize is $100
Nice.
and bragging rights.
Lots of bragging rights. I won the lip sync battle.
We didn't have time to. If we do this again, I want to get a wrestling belt made or a championship belt like they have on the TV show.
That's kind of cool.
So you'll be the Westfield Lip Sync Battle Champion, and you can put it on your wall at your business or your office.
Oh, man, that's
for
funny.
a year.
Yeah. Who came up with that idea?
Jimmy Fallon did.
Really?
He was doing it on his show.
The lip sync battle.
Yes, he would do it on his show as a bit, and that evolved. One of the guys that did it as a bit talked to Spike at the time, now Paramount, and said, "You know what? We could do a half hour to this. Do two songs straight up, person versus person, of just in their street clothes or whatever. Do 2 songs, and then 2 more songs as big production numbers." And it's a half-hour show.
And this is but the one we're doing here in Westfield, is there a website with all the rules and everything on it?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, because I'm being, I'm
I think
being
the only
stupid
rules.
and
I think
naive.
the only rules are have fun,
Okay.
and the audience basically judges. I think.
That sounds like fun. Well, you
Yeah.
and I are doing a little bit of the technical behind-the-scenes stuff, so we will be there, and we look forward to seeing you there. That's Sunday, March 4th, over at the Senior Center, starting around
Tickets
2.
are available because it's a fundraiser. I think it's $5 or $10. Tickets are available at the Senior Center. It's a fundraiser for the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center.
Go check that out. I hope to see everybody there. This is JPEG Luca, Pete Coles, JP's Talk About Town. On the other side of the break, a little bit of Jack Benny. We'll be back right after this.
Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. Visit on the web at baystatedental.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Wednesday mornings from 6 till 8, it's Tina Gorman with Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And this is JPEG Luca, JP's Talk About Town. JP's golden age of radio is straight ahead. We're going to bring you a little bit of smiling this morning with Jack Benny. Here he is with A Day at the Beach, first aired May 9th, 1954.
The Jack Benny Program, transcribed and presented by Lucky Strike.
Lucky's taste better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
Lucky's taste better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. For Lucky Strike means fine tobacco, richer tasting, fine tobacco.
Lucky's taste better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike. This is Don Wilson. Friends, think back for just a minute to that last cigarette you smoked. Wasn't the taste of that cigarette the thing you really enjoyed? Of course it was. Smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste. And many millions of smokers will tell you that Lucky's taste better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother. One reason is fine tobacco. You know, LSMFT, Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Tobacco that is light, naturally mild, good tasting. And another, Lucky's are made better. Made to draw freely. Made to smoke evenly. Made to give you what you want from your cigarette. Better taste. So for all the real deep down smoking enjoyment you want, ask for the cigarette that definitely does taste better. Lucky Strike. Get a carton and be happy. Go Lucky. Be happy, go Lucky. Get better taste today. Strike program starring Jack Benny with Mary Livingston, Rochester, Dennis A. Bob Crosby, and yours truly, Don Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, every spring, as soon as the warm weather starts in California, Jack Benny and his gang take a day off and go out to the beach. As we look in on Jack's home, he and Rochester are preparing for this annual picnic.
Rochester, have you got everything?
I think so, boss.
Towels, bathing caps, suntan oil?
Uh-huh.
Did you pack enough lunch?
I put in some sandwiches, potato salad, pickles, celery, olives, and 60 hard-boiled eggs.
60? How come we've got so many hard-boiled eggs?
Don't you remember you were faster than any of the kids on Easter morning?
Oh, yes. I guess I was pretty lucky. Now, Rochester, I wonder if we should fill the thermos bottle with orangeade or lemonade.
I'd suggest lemonade. That'll mix with anything.
Look, we're just going to have soft drinks. If I take a long soft drink, it's not going to be used as a mixer.
It's not?
No.
Okay, but when the musicians find out it's just plain lemonade, you're going to have another riot in Cell Block 11.
You needn't worry about that, Rochester. The musicians aren't coming this time. There'll be just my gang and the kids from the Beverly Hills Beavers Club.
Boss, you've been running that Beavers Club a long time, haven't you?
Yes, sir. The club remains the same, but the kids come and go.
Mr. Banks, you ever hear from any of the original members?
Yep. One of them's Vice President Nixon now. If I'm ever in Washington, I must look him up. He left owing 15 cents in dues. Now, Rochester, I want to take along my swim fins and diving mask so I can practice spear fishing. Maybe you'd like to try it out this afternoon.
No, thanks. I don't want to go down there. I might run into a shark or an octopus.
You mean if you had your knife and your spear, you'd still be afraid of an octopus?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Boss, there's something romantic about having two arms around you, but the mood changes as the number increases.
Look, Rochester, there's nothing to be afraid of. An octopus always gives warning by putting out an ink-like fluid.
Yeah, but it would just be my luck to run into one of those paper-made kind that's leak-proof.
Now, that's silly.
Silly or not, I don't want anything to do with any octopuses.
All right, Rochester, but for your information, the plural of octopus is not octopuses. It's octopi.
Uh-huh.
You shouldn't be afraid of them. They're completely dumb, unintelligent creatures.
Uh-huh.
They have no reasoning powers at all. They operate completely on instinct.
Uh-huh.
Believe me, Rochester, they're more afraid of you than you are of them.
You sold me, boss, but who's going to sell the octopi?
You ever have octopi a la mode? Silliest thing I ever thought of. I just thought of it. Look, Rochester, forget it. You finish the packing. I'm going to call Bob Crosby and see if he's ready to go to the picnic. I don't know why I bothered to tell Rochester that the plural of octopus is octopi. He isn't going to hang around for more than one anyway. I don't know why he's so...
Hello.
Hello, Bob? Oh, Bob, this is Jack. What time do you want to leave?
Well, it's 11 now. I'd like to get going before noon.
Okay, then you pick me up. So long.
Bye.
Who was it, Bob?
Oh, that was Jack. He wanted to know if we were ready.
Well, I've got everything packed.
Good. And June, I think I'll take along an extra pair of swimming trunks for Jack. You know, I don't want him to embarrass everybody like he did in Palm Springs.
Oh, well, Bob, that wasn't altogether Jack's fault. Don't you remember? He forgot his and had to borrow one.
Well, all right, so he borrowed a suit from Mary, but did he have to wear the top?
Yeah. Didn't he look silly?
And not only that, honey, but you should have heard him trying to explain his tan to the boys in the steam room.
Hey, Bob, who's going to the beach?
Oh, Jack's taking the beavers and the whole gang.
Oh, is Dennis Day coming again?
Yeah. Oh, you're not still mad at him from last year, are you?
Certainly I am. What a stupid kid.
Yeah, but Junie,
Imagine him coming up to me and saying, the last one in the water is a rotten egg. I was in over my head before I realized I still had my clothes on. It was awful.
Oh, Dennis is always pulling that trick. Well, if I'm going to pick Jack up in my car, I better call Don Wilson and ask him to pick Dennis up.
Oh, Donald, Bob Crosby just called. You're supposed to pick up Dennis.
Okay, I'll be out in a second, Lois. I'm trying on my new bathing suit.
Well, hurry, dear. I've got the lunch pack, the towels, and everything else.
Well, here I am. How do I look?
Oh, they look fine. Turn around.
Okay. These are Catalina swim trunks.
I know. From the back, you look like Avalon. You know, really, dear, you should go on a diet.
Oh, but Lois, you know I've tried everything to lose weight. I even went to that psychiatrist last week. He gave me every kind of test. And then he said my tendency toward obesity was caused by my psychosomatic obsessions, which might be terminated by prefrontal lobotomy provided my alter ego repressed my subconscious foreseen tendencies.
My goodness. What does that mean?
I eat like a pig.
Well, you do overeat, Don. And not only is it making you heavy, but it's wearing out your teeth. Anyway, dear, you really ought to do something. Well, now, who can that be?
Probably the Sportsman Quartet. They're going to ride to the beach with us. Hi, fellas. You all ready to go to the beach?
By the sea, by the sea, by the beautiful sea, you and I, oh, how happy we'll be. When each wave comes a-rolling in, we will duck or swim, and we'll float and fool around the water, over and under and then up for air. With a small dab of blue, Benny won't lose his hair. We love to be beside your side, beside the sea, beside the seaside, by the beautiful sea. Gizmo Beach, that's where we want to be, with the Nell and the Ness, LSMFFT.
Round and firm and so fully packed, yes sir, it's a fact
That a Lucky Strike is better tasting. Light up a Lucky, then pause and compare. See how well it is made, and we know you'll declare.
I have the smoke, I like a better tasting Lucky Strike.
Beside me, by the beautiful sea, beside the seaside, by the beautiful sea.
Rochester, carry all the stuff out in front of the house so we'll be ready as soon as Bob Crosby comes by.
Okay. By the way, Mr. Benny, you know you said I could have tonight off, and I'd like to go to the movies.
That's right. What about it?
Well, yesterday was payday and you forgot to pay me.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry about that, Rochester. I'll write you out a check right now. You think they can cash it at the movie?
Boss, they can cash my check at the popcorn stand.
Never mind. Now, let's get this stuff out in front of the house, and I'll help you. All of it. That's it. Now, let's pile it all up here by the curb. Do we have everything, Rochester?
Let's see what's here. The thermos jug, lunch basket, plates, towels, extra bathing suits.
Well, we got the bathing caps, the swim fins, surfboard, beach umbrella.
Portable stove, coffee pot, and beach chairs.
Yeah. Gee, it makes quite a pile here on the sidewalk.
Mr. Benny, they're evicting you.
Why, Mr. Kitzel! No, Mr. Kitzel, I'm not being evicted. We're just preparing to go to the beach.
Ooh, that sounds pleasant.
Yeah, why don't you join us?
Oh, this I'd love to do, but I'm on my way to the baseball game, and I'd rather watch a baseball game than anything else.
Oh, I didn't know you were a baseball fan.
A fan? I used to play professionally.
No kidding. What position did you play?
Pitcher. I was known as Christy Kitzel.
Well, so you were a baseball pitcher.
You know, I'm surprised you never heard of me. In my last game, I established a record. I pitched a no-hitter.
A no-hitter?
Yes.
Gosh, that's wonderful. What was the score?
26-0. We lost.
You lost, but Mr. Kitzel, you said you pitched a no-hitter.
I did, but who did I walk them?
Then I suppose you gave up the idea of being a pitcher.
Definitely did. I became an outfielder.
A good one, I hope. Huh?
Pretty good. As a matter of fact, Mr. Benny, many years ago, Joe DiMaggio and I tried out for the same position with the Yankees.
Oh, it's a shame Joe DiMaggio beat you out.
Yes, you should see what I married.
By the way, Mr. Kitzer, you mentioned your wife so many times, and yet you've never told me her name. What is your wife's name?
Marilyn, but there the resemblance ends.
You know, Mr. Kitzer, you're always talking about your wife being homely.
Yeah.
If your wife is so homely, why did you marry her?
Who am I, Robert Taylor?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Well, I got to dash along to the baseball game. I don't want to be late. Goodbye, Mr. Benny.
Goodbye, Mr. Kitzel. Goodbye. Gee, I'm sorry he couldn't come to the beach with us.
Yeah, he's always a lot of fun. Say, Mr. Benny, who are the kids from the Beavers going to the beach with?
Well, they're going to meet over at Dennis's house, and Don Wilson is picking them all up. Gee, I hope the kids won't be late.
Come on, fellows, let's hurry. Yeah, I don't want to be late on my first outing with the Beavers. Don't worry, Tiger, we won't. Gosh, it was awful nice of Mr. Benny to plan this day at the beach for us. Yeah, we're lucky kids, having a great man like Mr. Benny coaches. He's a champion at everything. Maybe today at the beach will teach me to swim. Is Mr. Benny a good swimmer? He's the best swimmer in the whole world. He told us he even swam the English Channel. So what? Lots of people that swam the English Channel. Underwater? Did Mr. Benny tell you that? Sure, he's told us lots of things. Like during his college days when he was at Yale. He defeated the entire Harvard swimming team all by himself. Gee, if he was that good when he was young, why didn't he get on our Olympic team? I don't know. I guess they just didn't have Olympics in those days. I can't believe that Mr. Benny is such a fast swimmer. Remember, we saw him swimming in his pool the other day, and he looked awful slow. Well, it's hard to swim with all your clothes on. Why was Mr. Benny in the pool with his clothes on? Dennis Day came over to him and yelled, "Last one is a rotten egg!" You know, I told my father about Mr. Benny teaching Johnny Weissmuller to swim, and Dad said he probably also taught him the talking mill. Why? Did your father ever hear Mr. Benny scream like that? Oh, sure, lots of times. What does your father do? Oh, he works for the income tax department. You know, my parents weren't going to let me go today until I told them we had a grown-up going with us. Yeah, and they don't have to worry. Mr. Benny takes real good care of us when we go to the beach. He sees that we behave and that we don't play too rough, and that we never eat anything that might make us sick. Yeah. Only today I kind of wish he'd let me take a chance and buy a Frankfurter at one of the stands. Me too. I'm tired of those peanut butter sandwiches he always brings. And they cost more than hot dogs, too. Yeah. So we better walk a little faster. We don't want to be late getting to Dennis Day's house.
Dennis, I've got the lunch all ready for you.
Well, thank you, Mother.
Now, have you got everything else?
Yes, Mother, my swimming trunks, towel, and my beach umbrella.
Good. Remember what I told you. I want you to sit in the shade of the umbrella all the time.
Must I, Mother?
Yes, Dennis. Enough people are saying you've been out in the sun too long already. And that reminds me, do you have enough suntan oil?
Oh, yes, I've got a whole bottle.
Good. And this time, remember, rub it on, don't drink it.
Okay. Gee, Mother, I do wish you were coming to the beach with us.
I do, too. Mainly out of curiosity. You know, I've never seen Benny in a bathing suit. He must be awfully thin.
Yeah, when he puts on a bathing cap, he looks like a plumber's friend. Well, I'm ready to go now. You know, Mother, I remember once you and Dad took me to the beach when I was a little boy.
Remember the fun we had?
Uh-huh. And remember the games we played?
Yes. Remember how we buried you in the sand?
Yeah, and the next day the cop made you come back and dig me up again.
how the expression first started.
Oh, what expression?
Dig that crazy kid. Look, Dennis, you still have some time before Don Wilson gets here. Why don't you sing a song for me?
All right, Mother, I'll do the one I'm going to do on Mr. Benny's show next Sunday.
Mare quanto è bello, spira tanto sentimento, con il tuo occhi pienamente, cascedato fai suonare. Guarda guacchi stu giardino, siente si ste sciure arance, nu profuma così fino, sinto core se ne va. E tu dici parta Dio, allontana da stu core, della terra dell'amore, viene core non torna, ma non me la fa, non darmi più tormento, ora sorrento a me con te. Tu dici porta Dio, allontana da stu cuore, della terra dell'amore, viene core non torna, ma non me la fa, non darmi più tormento, ora sorrento a me comba.
All right, gang. All right, kids. All right, everybody. Another 5 minutes in the water, and then we'll all have to come out.
Yeah, we ought to build a fire before it gets too dark.
Hey, what a clear day. You can see all the way up to Catalina. There's Avalon.
That's Don Wilson. Don, don't float out too far.
I won't! Gee, Mr. Benny, this picnic is real fun. Only you should have invited more girls.
Well, who, for instance?
Well, the 2 CBS telephone operators.
Gee, I didn't think of them. No, they came along last year. They're real fun, too. Especially that Mabel Flapsaddle.
Yeah, every time you threw that stick in the water, she'd bring it back in her teeth.
Yeah, and the money she'd save on towels, she'd always shake herself dry. All right, now. Come on, everybody. Out of the water. Out of the water, everybody.
Oh, boy, let's start a fire. Let's start a fire. I'm hungry.
I brought a ball and bat. Why don't we play some baseball first to dry off?
Hey, that's a good idea. Now, the Beavers and I will play baseball. I'll play against the rest of you guys.
Okay, we'll be up first. Junie, you be the umpire.
Okay, Bob.
All right. All right, Beavers. Get out in the field. I'll pitch.
I'll bat first. I'm ready, Jack.
Come on, Mr. Benny. Put it right over the plate.
Okay. Here goes.
Ball one. Come on, Mr. Benny. Put it right over the plate. Ball two. Mr. Benny, put
Okay.
Ball 3! Mr. Benny, this time see if you can reach the plate.
Don't worry, Harry. I'm just warming up. Here goes. I've got it! I've got it! Ooh. Ooh, now I bet I'll have a black eye.
Wait till I tell my mom about this. It'll make her Mother's Day perfect.
Oh, don't be so smart. And that's enough baseball for now. Let's all get dressed, and then we'll start the fire. Okay, everybody bring all that driftwood here and pile it in the center. Now, I'll start the fire. I got the matches.
Hey, but Jack, we just got wood, no paper to start it with.
That's right. Look around for some paper, kids.
Hey, we can start it with this. I just found some dry seaweed.
Dennis, give me that. It slipped off my head. Now, go find some paper.
I found a bunch, Mr. Benny. Here you are.
Oh, thanks, Harry. Now, put the wood over it. Now light it. Boy, the fire will be going in just a few minutes, so get your marshmallows ready.
Hey, wait a minute, fellas. Who's this man coming toward us?
Where? Oh, yeah.
Well, what's going on here? Are you fellas having a picnic?
Yes.
That ain't much of a fire you got there. You'll never cook anything on that.
Look, mister.
You're supposed to cross the sticks when you build a fire and leave room for the air under there.
Look, don't tell me how to build a fire. I used to be a Boy Scout.
With that seaweed on your head, you look like Father Neptune.
Look, fella, this is a private party.
Mr. Benny, I can get rid of him.
Dennis, keep out of this. Now, mister, why don't you go away and leave us alone?
What's the matter? It's a free beach. I can go wherever I want to. Mr. Benny, I'm sure I can get rid of him.
Well, all right, Dennis. Go ahead and try.
Okay. Last one in is a rotten egg.
Doggone, I fell for it again. Hey, kids, put more wood on the fire. I gotta dry my clothes.
Ladies and gentlemen, 90% of all forest fires each year are man-caused. A campfire that is almost out, a lighted match or cigarette that is tossed away, could burst into hungry flames and destroy millions of acres of vitally needed timberland. So when you're in the country, be absolutely sure you put out every fire, every match, every cigarette completely out. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Thank you. Jack will be back in just a minute, but first, here's a word from America's poet laureate, Ogden Nash.
Somebody once went through my poems and made a list of the things I dislike. It's a pretty long list, too. However, on the list of things I like, they said he likes good eating. Of course I like good eating. I like good anything, good fun, good smoking. Naturally, I smoke Luckies. To put it poetically, I hope I'm not a crank, but I've got one foible. I don't enjoy anything unless it's enjoyable. I'm pernickety about what I like, and for 30 years, I've smoked Lucky Strike.
Thanks, Ogden Nash. There's more truth to that than poetry. Smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste. And the fact of the matter is, Lucky's taste better. Cleaner, fresher, smoother. For two good reasons. First, LSMFT, Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. And fine tobacco means better taste. Second,
Lucky's are made better to draw freely and smoke evenly. That, too, means better taste for you. So be happy. Go Lucky.
Lucky's taste better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another program. And we'll be... Oh, there's the phone. Excuse me. Hello? Oh, hello, Mary. Oh, you heard from your mother? Oh, she got the flowers I wired her yesterday for Mother's Day. Good. Was she surprised when the Western Union boy brought them to the door? Oh, she's the Western Union boy. Well, I'm glad she got them. Goodbye, Mary. A happy Mother's Day, everybody.
The program is written by Sam Perrin, Milt Josephsberg, George Balzer, John Tackerberry, Al Gordon, Al Goldman, and produced and transcribed by Hilliard Mark. The Jack Benny program is brought to you by Lucky Strike, product of the American Tobacco Company, America's leading manufacturer of cigarettes.
Stay tuned for Amos and Andy over the CBS radio network. KNX, AM,
Support
and
for
FM
the community
Los Angeles.
programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for community programming on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Underwriting for community radio on WSKB Westfield is brought to you by the Westfield Gas and Electric. Westfield Gas and Electric is service, using their power for the good of Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, everyone. JPEG Luca with JP's Talk About Town. We're back here after our JP's Golden Age of Radio segment. We hope you enjoyed a little bit of Jack Benny on your ride into work this morning. It'll wake you up with a smile, I hope. We are being joined here in the studio by a couple of big theater people. Mark Gianfrido and Mark Auerbach, of course, the latter of which you hear often here on WSKB. So, good morning, Marks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, glad to have you with us. We're actually here to talk about Mark Gianfrido's production of The Big Broadcast.
That's right. It's a great show.
Where's that? That's at
Mount Holyoke College.
In
South Hadley.
Well, I meant which building.
Oh, sorry. It takes place in Chapin Auditorium, which is in Mary Woolley Hall.
That's a wonderful theater.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous space, and I was bowled over to hear so many luminaries actually perform there. Did you know that Glenn Miller actually performed on that stage for a senior dance?
No kidding.
Way back in, I think it was 1941, I believe.
Now,
I mean,
when was it built?
That's a good question. That I couldn't tell you, but it started out as a lecture hall, and then it kind of got converted over into a performance space.
Wow, the first time I walked into it, it reminded me of an old dance hall. It had a great stage, and the first floor, the orchestra, is flat, which is unusual for a theater, and then it had a wrapping balcony around it. So
and the balcony actually, I think it's one of the best places really in that space to hear live music, because the sound just travels right up there, and so I always encourage people to sit up in the balcony. Plus, you can get a really nice bird's eye view of what's going on
of
the
everything
stage.
That's going on.
Yeah.
I had I'm an audiophile. I love the acoustics and how something sounds. How do you make a room sound good? And I remember stopping and talking to the audio guy, and he had a couple of mics by your band at the time, and I'm going, well, how do you mix that into the mix? He goes, no, I don't. Those mics are just for recording. I mix everything else to match the band. And it just blew me away at how wonderful it sounded in the room.
Well, yeah, we're really, really fortunate to have, I would say, probably two of the finest sound people in the Valley that do our show. Dan Richardson does the sound for so many different groups and bands and stuff like that, and he's fabulous. And James LeGrand of LeGrandice Audio records us. So it's a kind of a tag team operation between the two of them. They've been doing it now for obviously a number of years, probably as much as we've been doing it, which is about 13. And so they've got the drill down, and they figure out the best way, because you have to sort of balance, like you said, the live sound with the fact that we were looking for a good recording as well. So
the room just lends itself to the jazz band that you put up there. Before I get into what the set looks like, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how that evolved. Tell our listeners, what is the Big Broadcast? How did it come to be, and who's part of this?
Well, the Big Broadcast started off in a very, very simple style in a little cabaret effort that I had put together in the 90s called Puttin' on the Ritz. We didn't just do Irving Berlin. We did all of the different composers. But when we were doing these, we would do these cabaret shows at places like Wistariahurst Museum. And we were thinking about different ways that we might be able to do different shows, and I came up with the idea of maybe if we did like a 40s or a 30s show where I could actually lump songs together in medleys or that sort of thing. Like if we did a Valentine's Day show or something like that, then we could do a medley of love, a medley of love lost, and stuff like that, all of those old songs. And it was loosely brought around my character. I gave my character a name called Matt Morgan, and at the time we were calling it WIST radio for wistful. And one of my singers played the singer, the main singer at the station, and my old friend Ken Caperso, who's was a luminary at HYN for many, many years as their music director, played our MC, whose name was Bob Graham, his fictitious name. And then a lot of my other friends would come in and out of the shows, and they would portray different celebrities. Anyway, fast forward to 1998, I formed the jazz ensembles at Mount Holyoke, and around 2006, I felt that we were ready at the college to possibly take that project and maybe expand on it, and that's what it is. And so basically, for about a week in January, several of my students who act as student producers write the show. We listen to lots of different 1940s shows. I basically show them the whole genre, and they write the show all of the intros and outros of our MC, and our MC is, of course, the fabulous Brian Lapis of Channel 22. And they also write the a radio play, which gives the musicians a little bit of a break, and it gives them a chance, the students, to do something a little theatrical. And they choose the commercials. I choose all of the music. We put it together in about 6 weeks. And long story short, it's a huge process, but somehow it all comes together.
Now, when the students first hear of this or see, maybe none of them have ever seen the big broadcast, is that genre of 40s radio new to them? Are they familiar with it at all?
They, some of them have some familiarity with it. Some of them do not. Most of them do not. And I've started to think about different ways that I can introduce it to them because, I mean, obviously, when you have basically 5 or 6 weeks to put on a show, you don't have a lot of time to actually spend on setting things up. So, but we're pretty fortunate that we have some material around. Of background material. I play them other shows that we've done. I basically try to get them in the mindset of the 1940s. There was a great documentary that was done on us by one of my friends. It's on YouTube, and so we show them that, and they get it pretty quickly, you know. And they also kind of enjoy the cornball humor and all of the stereotypes. I mean, they don't enjoy the stereotypes. What I mean is that they understand that it is what it is, you know.
And
like
back in the day, that is what you heard on the radio.
Yeah, and it's a joke. I mean, they realize that it's a joke, and they realize that we are not espousing, you know, these stereotypes. We're not trying to promote them. We're just saying this is the 1940s. It's warts and all. It's theater. This is what was going on in that day and age. I mean, you know, we were teetering on the brink of war, and it was an interesting time. You wouldn't think so by the music, because of the fact that the music is so, you know, sparkling and happy, and it just makes you want to tap your toes and
the
dance.
whole show from beginning to end is definitely upbeat. It's fun, and to those that aren't familiar, and they hear a lot of the shows that we do on Friday morning, the Golden Age shows, but many of those were done in a live studio audience setting. Yep. So what you present on stage, the first time I walked in there, it is what you would think you would see in, you know, walking into that first time ever in to see your favorite radio show.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got a kick out of that. You've set the thing up to be, they've got old style microphones. Mm-hmm. You've got the logo for the radio station up on the back wall.
Yeah.
And that's well done. Did that evolve over time?
It has, yeah. I mean, again, I think the first show, 2006, I mean, we didn't do any video or any kind of, there might be some pictures around of it, but it was done on a very low-key basis because, A, I didn't really know whether or not it was going to be something that was going to, you know, last, and B, I didn't really have the budget to put something, you know, so large on. In fact, we only did one show that particular year, 2006. We did an afternoon show. It was basically a test, and but it evolved. Yeah, one of my students did the logo, which, you know, we made a, you know, it's called a gobo. It's basically a piece of metal that light can travel through, that you can put on a typical theatrical light. So we made a gobo of that, so that we can put that on the, you know, anything that we want, and then from there, you know, I started. I think in that first show we didn't actually have a radio play, so we decided it would be really cool to do a radio play, and so we started. The students started brainstorming, and the first one we did was a Western called "A Blaze of Justice." And again, the students loved it so much, and of course they listened to lots of Westerns, you know. And I mean, you know, back in those days, you know, I mean, now you go to the theater, you know, you're blown away by all of the special effects and, you know, the computerized stuff that goes on. Back in those days,
all in your
the
mind.
theater of the mind.
There
Exactly.
You go.
Yeah. You sat in front of a radio and you listened to, you know, and there's somebody, and again, our Foley artist who's so funny,
she's
and
hilarious.
she's great. Cheryl Cobb, my colleague. I mean, the old coconuts for horse hoofs and all that stuff. And so you have your microphone on there, and so you're sitting in front of the radio and you're imagining, oh my God, they're on horses and everything. And so anyway, the students now have rotated. They've written like 3 or 4 different shows, and this year we're doing something called Life on Honeysuckle Hill, which is our attempt at a soap opera from that particular period. And it's hilarious because in those days you had to be really careful about what you insinuated on radio.
The Real Housewives just wouldn't fly. They'd all be put in jail.
You can't even talk about. You couldn't talk about a divorce.
Right.
You wouldn't want to talk about having affairs, married affairs, and stuff like that. That was all gossip stuff. That was in the trade papers and everything. But here, it's like one character says, I don't want them to know that we're involved, and it's all done in a very...
That's hilarious in itself, just because you can't... It's like watching the old Newlywed Game, making whoopee. That was as close as you could get to see.
Yeah, and you can imagine the students who are even more,
they're trying not to laugh on stage, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, we're going to take a break here. Before we go, I have a couple of tickets to the show, now that we've teased you enough, if you're interested. Pete, what's the number to call over here?
413-572-5579.
Again, that number is?
413-572-5579.
Give us a shout. First caller will get a couple of tickets to the big broadcast happening on March 3rd. That's a Saturday. And if it snows, it'll be March 4th.
That's correct.
So that's not bad.
Yeah. And if you want to buy tickets ahead of time, and you're not going to call in the next couple of minutes, tickets are available at the Fine Arts Center box office at UMass and at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley, and we'll have them for the 2 o'clock show and the 7:30 show at the door.
Outstanding. This is Jay Pagluca. We're here with Mark Auerbach and Mark Gianfrido talking about the big broadcast. We'll be back right after this.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore at Westfield State University, right here in the Ely Campus Center. Whether you're a student, faculty member, or friend of the university, it's the place to shop. Everything from Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise to all of your academic needs. Offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Visit the bookstore on campus or online at www.westfieldstate.bncollege.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Wally Computer Associates, one of the largest technology providers in North America. Headquartered in Southwick, Wally provides all of the products and services that you'd expect from a world-class technology partner to schools, colleges, businesses, as well as state and local governments and agencies. Wally Computer Associates, meeting all of your technology needs. On the web at WCA.com.
Underwriting for community broadcasting on WSKB is provided by The Press Room, a community coffee and snack cafe right in the heart of Westfield's Gaslight District. The news of the day always includes a steaming cup of coffee or tea, donuts, bagels, pastry, and other delectable treats at The Press Room. Open weekdays 7 to 5, Saturdays and Sundays 7 to noon. The Press Room, 62 School Street, Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. Ken's Den, Tuesday, 8 to 10. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And this is Jay Pagluca, along with Pete Coles, Mark Gianfrido, and Mark Auerbach. We are here talking about the big broadcast, a production of Mark Gianfrido in South Hadley it's Mount Holyoke, right? Okay.
Yes, Mount Holyoke College.
I don't know why that falls out of my head.
Lots of things fall out of your head, Jay.
Yeah, well, every now and then that happens.
Jay could be comic relief for you. He could be the warm-up guy.
I'll work on that. We'll find a routine.
Well, he's an excellent host, but you could also be like an Egg McMahon type too. I think you're
I got to get the laugh down.
That's why we originally paired him with Bob Plass.
Yeah,
okay.
And I've got to do the Alpo Idaho dog food commercial.
Oh, yeah, I
he used
remember
to do
that.
the live
Oh,
commercials
God.
on,
I remember
on
that.
the Tonight Show
I
were
remember
hilarious.
those, yeah.
those
they
are
were
great.
because the dog never did what he wanted him
That's
to do.
right. Yeah, there's one famous one where the dog was like not eating.
No,
or something.
I'm not going to eat that stuff.
Yeah.
No way. And some stagehand somewhere put something nasty to keep the dog away. So just they're messing with him. Well, to Mark and Mark, the two of you have done a lot of things together on stage and off over the years. What are some of the most memorable ones that you guys can
well,
remember?
we got to know each other because I did the special events programming for public radio here through New England Public Radio, and we had brought a live broadcast of a Prairie Home Companion with Garrison Keillor to the Fine Arts Center, and Garrison Keillor said to me, I have a one-man show that I'd like to try out before I take it to New York. And South Hadley might be a nice place to do it. And I said, yeah, I'll produce that for public radio. We'll see what happens. And he arrived and he said, do you have a piano guy? Because I'd like to sing. And I called my contact at Mount Holyoke and he said, well, you need to work with Mark Gianfrido. And Mark happened to be available. He and Garrison Keillor rehearsed for like an hour and did this live show. And then Garrison took it on to New York. And then I saw some of Mark's work. And when I produced the quiz show, Says You, which is a national show, and they taped a series of broadcasts at Mount Holyoke, I asked Mark and his musicians to come be the live music for it. And that was the second time. And then he coerced me into doing the big broadcast, and we've been doing that annually ever since.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I want to go back to Garrison Keillor for a minute. I was always a big fan of the Prairie Home Companion. He would do something new, so new every week, all the new material. That I don't know how much behind the scenes you saw of that. I would have loved to be just a fly on the wall watching that happen. Like you said, you sat down, rehearsed for an hour, and boom, here's a show ready to roll. Was he like that in everything?
Well, when a Prairie Home Companion, the full broadcast came to Amherst, there were a lot of people involved. He had sound guys, special effect guys, musicians, guest musicians, and his company of players, plus a lot of producers and radio people to take this theatrical production and make it a radio broadcast, which involved some rehearsal before they got here, but they rehearsed for one day and then the day of and went on the air. And they went on the air at 6 o'clock, and it was live.
Yeah.
And it's been rerun, I think, once or twice. But I got a chance to sit and watch, and it was no different than a technical rehearsal for a musical. I mean, the production people, sound, lights, orchestra, and all of that were working, and they were going cue by cue by cue. Obviously, it had been written before, and they were putting some bits into it, but then when you get up on a stage of a theater and you do this technical thing, you say, well, that doesn't quite work. Maybe we need to expand it. So I don't know how it worked from city to city. When he came and did the one-man show, he had rehearsed that, planned it. It was done with very rudimentary lighting and sound. The same sound guy that does the big broadcast, Dan Richardson, did the sound for it. And basically, he stood up at a microphone. He read some excerpts of his own writings. He read some excerpts of other humorists. I remember a short piece he did by Mark Twain. And then there was some music. He had to have thought about this in advance. And I ended up seeing a similar production of it in New York, maybe 3 or 4 years after he did his Tried at Mount Holyoke, and it wasn't that much different.
Yeah, I just love that all of the technical aspects of what does it take to put together a weekly show? That's what they did, and that's in the 40s. That's what they did. You had a bunch of writers in a room, and they would cram together something and do then rough rehearsal into that live broadcast.
A Prairie Home Companion, and I can't remember what it's called now. It has a new host and a new title, but it is kind of the last of those radio variety shows. And we don't even, you think about it, we don't see variety shows like Ed Sullivan on television anymore.
No, it's all reality TV, which is
or it's the Grammys or the Tony Awards where they take excerpts from something. But this whole idea of weekly radio or weekly television and live in studio stuff is a thing of the past.
So you both love that genre, that thing. And once you got into the big broadcast, what was your first parts in that, Mark?
I've always done the public relations and the marketing for it. I've never been on stage in it. For me, it was, I was a radio guy, and I started out in commercial radio before doing public radio, and some of the men and women that I worked with, and I started in Houston, some of them had been in the radio business for 30 years, and they would talk about one of the theaters in Houston where the big bands would come in the swing era, like Glenn Miller or Benny Goodman, and they would do their radio shows live, similar to what the big broadcast was. And you hear the stories of what they had to go through, the war stories, to get a show on the air, which I, as a news person who went to a computer or a teletype and pulled the news stories and sat in front of a mic and just did it, or interviewed somebody, I never had to think of. And the stories were fascinating with the personalities and the temperaments and all of that. So I was fascinated to see the big broadcast and how Mark put it together. And because Mark has a musical theater background and knows what it takes to do a musical, you do have the theatricality of it that's very controlled.
Now, Mark Gianfrido, the show that you've put together now, obviously you're using students from the school. They're all your students are in the band.
Yes.
And as well as the singers that are out in front of the stage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How does that all get put together? We talked a minute ago about how long it takes to put this. What's the timeline, and how do you cram this all into everything that everybody does already? How do you make that happen?
Well, as far as the planning is concerned, I mean, I think we kind of have a template now about how we do the show. And so I'm usually looking for a certain couple of numbers that I think will maybe be standouts. And that might be either for the band, like for instance this year, and I think we've done it maybe once before, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. We're bringing back Benny Goodman's "Sing, Sing, Sing," which I think is, that's probably the most iconic big band instrumental dance number that when you think of the 1940s, you'll see it on a commercial, quite often. You'll hear it. And then also, because of the fact that I am at a college where there are a lot of females, I want to especially promote the small group singing of that period, which of course were highlighted by the Andrews Sisters.
And if you think of that harmony, that's exactly what you get with the kids up there.
Exactly,
it's amazing. To me.
And it's a really it's a specific thing because of the three sisters. Patty was in the middle, and she always had the melody, and Laverne was the alto. She was the low part, so she's kind of like the bass line, and then Maxine had, I think, the most interesting role because her part had to kind of move around. Sometimes it was above Patty, sometimes it was below Patty, depending on how the melody moved. And so I think actually Maxine had the lion's share of the work because she was doing double duty. Sometimes she was harmonizing above, sometimes she was providing harmony underneath, and so I look for a couple of different numbers that will be fun for the students to sing. This particular particular year, I selected something. In fact, it's really kind of funny. I selected some B-sides of things that I'm not sure whether or not everybody will know, but I think they'll be really, really interested to hear them because they're very, very cool numbers. The one that we're doing in the first act is called Music Makers. It's a famous song that was actually started out as an instrumental by Harry James. The Andrews Sisters loved the tune. They recorded their own version of it with music, I think that was by, lyrics by Don Ray. And they upped the tempo a little bit to make it a little bit more swingy. It was the second B-side, I should say, the second record they came out with after Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. So imagine you've just released Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy.
Which was huge.
Which was huge. And then, of course, they combined that with an appearance on Buck Private's, the movie with Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
So they rocket to fame. They got to come out with something. The next song they come out with is a song called Aurora. I don't know if you know that one.
I do.
Which is a great song. And on the B side of Aurora is Music Makers. And both songs are so good, they could have both been huge. I mean, Aurora was a hit. Music Makers could have been a hit too. But I thought it was really kind of fun to select this song. And the reason why I did is because there's a line in there that says, "You can have the men who make laws, give me the music makers." And I thought in our current climate, our current climate, that sort of rangs, really interesting. So I said, I think I'm going to program this one. It's kind of cool because it mentions Mendelssohn and it's kind of it's like a combination of, they're throwing in a little bit of ode to the classics as well as to big band swing.
When we come back, I'd like to talk about how you mentioned the Andrews Sisters were in a movie. That was a major promotion for music back then. There was no television. So I want to talk a little bit about how that would have worked back then. And right now we have a piece that you had sent us from one of your past shows. Want to talk a little? Does it need a little intro? Or?
Well, yeah, sure. This is I think this is Chicago Style, which is a great number that featured Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, and I think it's from one of the Road pictures. And it's basically it talks about a trombonist who's very flamboyant and is a cool dresser and everything else. And this is Brian Lapis and I doing our buddy number that we did last year with the big band.
This is J. Pagluca, Mark Gianfrido, and Mark Auerbach. JP's Talk About Town. We'll be back right after this.
Look out! You ready for this? Who's that coming down the thoroughfare? The sunshine flashing on his ring, bowing left and right and here and there. That's Chester, the trombone king. He gets his shirts straight from Paris, cigarettes from the Nile. He talks like a highbrow, but he plays Chicago style. He gets his shoes made in London and the real crocodile, but he plays trombone Chicago style. And he sometimes plays sweet, but sweet or hot, he's always got that real gut bucket beat. He's got a neat Latin mustache, and the gals love his smile, but he plays trombone Chicago style. A trombone made in Munich, played in Chicago style. Chicago style. Chicago style. He gets his neckties from Naples and his socks from Argyle. Speaks Oxford English, but he plays Chicago style. Wears a stick pin from Rio, are you listening? You can see it for a mile. But he plays trombone Chicago style. sometimes plays sweet.
Uncle Jake's wearing blues,
but sweet or hot, he's always got that real gut bucket beat. He likes New York for the opera and gets two on the aisle, but he plays trombone, Chicago style. A trombone made in Munich, played in Chicago style.
Yes, sir.
Hey, a trombone made Chicago style.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Discussions of local politics, events, happenings, and miscellany potpourri. That's what you'll find on Ken's Den, Tuesdays from 8 till 10.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Good morning, everyone. Jay Pagluka with JP's Talk About Town. We are here this morning, and just it's been a special morning with Mark Gianfrido and Mark Auerbach talking about the big broadcast, which is a live, on-the-stage show put together to be just like an old 1940s radio show, and that happens...
It's not sort of, Jay. You walk through the door and you're time traveled back to 1942.
Okay, you walk through the door and it's like time travel, right? From into 1942 at the Chapin
Trying to get Jay in the mood.
Chapin Auditorium of...
yeah, exactly. Right, exactly.
of Mount Holyoke College. Hey, this is a place to be the first weekend of March 3rd, Saturday. And what time? It's at 2?
2 o'clock matinee, 7:30 evening show. It's the first time the big broadcast has been on a Saturday, and the snow day is Sunday, March 4th. You can get tickets in advance at the UMass Fine Arts Center, at the Odyssey Bookshop in South Hadley at Village Commons, on the phone at 413-545-2511, or at the door. And there will be tickets for both shows at the door.
There was a movie not too many years ago called My Favorite Year with Peter O'Toole.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It's truly one of my favorite movies. A great movie. It's a good year, too.
Good year, too.
But it was in the early days of television, just like the early days of radio. People were excited to get to see that broadcast live. And I remember one scene in that where the doors open and people rush into the studio to get the best seats in the house. And that's kind of what it seemed like the first time I went up to see your show up there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. That excitement was there.
Well, we try to, right when you walk into Chapin, you hear the music of the Andrews Sisters and Glenn Miller. And in fact, that's another interesting story because the Andrews Sisters were, again, up and coming at this time, but they were paired off with Glenn Miller to do a series of shows called the Chesterfield broadcasts. And those are actually available on a CD, and they're absolutely wonderful because there's a lot of really interesting novelty numbers that the Andrews Sisters did. That are on that disc.
Before break, we talked about promotion of these kind of things. Radio was all there was, and for a lot of people, there wasn't much more entertainment than that as World War II was just building up, and we'd just gotten involved in that. Movies, however, were an escape, and a lot of this music got put into movies. Mm-hmm. Tell us about some of the ways that was done. Abbott and Costello was a great.
Yeah, Universal,
team.
Which I've done some reading. I wouldn't call myself a hugely knowledgeable about but I do know that I think Universal was considered one of the studios that didn't have lots of money to spend, and so they really did their best trying to look for unusual things, unusual acts. And of course, they looked to vaudeville, and of course, Abbott and Costello came from vaudeville. I believe they were the stars of a Broadway show called The Streets of Paris.
Yeah, vaudeville. Right? They looked to vaudeville and also burlesque. Yeah. People like Gypsy Rose Lee, who and there were the vaudeville circuits of theaters all over the country, and there were the burlesque houses all over the country. And burlesque was, the comics and the music and the strippers, but it wasn't what we think of as burlesque. It was more of a variety show, and there were theaters all over the country. And people would go for live entertainment, and it wasn't particularly expensive to go to the local theater and see a vaudeville or a Burley-Q show. And
Burley-Q?
Burley-Q was the nickname for it. And also those theaters, they would have plays that toured or musicals that would tour to fill in the blanks when there wasn't a vaudeville show around. So that's where the entertainment was.
That's just I love that whole thing, to have a small theater like that still did something similar would be so much fun today. You come about as close as I've seen in any recent years.
Well, we try. I mean, we're trying to cover a lot of bases here. We're trying to give obviously the foremost thing is trying to entertain the audience, and we want them to have fun. We also want to give them a little bit of a history behind the whole thing, and then of course, coming from an educational institution, we're not only hopefully educating the public, but we're also educating our own students. So there's all of that, and so we try to cover all of the bases. I think over the years it's become a show that we feel very comfortable in putting on, and the students enjoy doing it because it's completely different. And I think it's got a lot of interesting points to it. So
now you've been doing this show for how many years?
This is our 13th, I think.
Yeah. Your 13th. I think it's my 10th.
Okay.
So do you have students come back after doing some of the first few, seeing this, and then giving you feedback as to what they remember and what they see now?
Surprisingly enough, yeah, there's always usually some alums in the audience. They usually don't tell me that they're coming because they want to surprise me, and I find out after that they're there. They come up to the stage and say hello, and it's always wonderful. There's one gal who comes actually from Maine every year, comes down to see the show. She's a huge supporter of what we do, and it's really, really very cool. And the students that are in the show realize that they see the lineage that's been from year to year, and again through a lot of this documentary material that we've had, it kind of clicks, and they realize, wow, this is something that's really, really special, and actually the college has called it a signature event. So it's something that's like some of our other things, such as our Holiday Vespers concert. It's something now that people look forward to on a yearly basis, which I'm just thrilled about because, like I said, it's just something that I've always wanted to do on the level that we're doing it now, and so I'm just ecstatic. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work,
no doubt.
And the people that care about me don't see me for about 6 weeks because of that, and I love them very much, and they know who they are. But it's a lot of work because for instance, a lot of this music does not exist. And so it needs to be created. And so the only way you can really create it is by writing it out.
Now, when you say it doesn't exist, like it's been lost, or you're writing this as it goes?
Yeah, I mean, I transcribe. Like, for instance, the Andrews Sisters numbers, I mean, I think you would have to probably try to track them down. They might be in some library, perhaps. The arranger, Vic Schoen, he passed away a number of years ago. But a lot of this stuff does not really exist.
So the arrangement, it's just not on paper anymore.
It's not on paper.
No
and
kidding.
So I actually take the recording and I listen to it and I notate the whole thing down, and which is a lot of work. But I love it. I love it. It's just so much fun to do because it's like doing a jigsaw puzzle or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like the puzzle is all there in front of you, but you're taking the pieces out of it, trying to hear what's the bass doing here? Oh, what's the tuba doing here? Oh, what's the clarinet doing here? And it's especially interesting because this music, of course, is not stereophonic. I mean, I shouldn't say that because, I mean, actually, the Andrews Sisters re-recorded a lot of their songs in the late 1950s, early 60s on Dot Records, I believe it was. As stereo was coming out. Yeah, I gave them another opportunity to connect with a new audience by doing this. But the good old originals are all monaural recording. They're all...
It's not easy to pull the pieces out of it.
Well, I mean, you would be in like a room like this, and your whole band would be one microphone right in the middle.
Yeah.
And of course, Bing and the Andrews Sisters would be around that microphone, and everybody else would be around them. And so, and the pianist would be way over there, so you can barely hear what the piano is doing. It's hard to hear what the bass is doing because there's no low end to monaural recordings. So it's a real jigsaw puzzle to put it all together. But I have a blast doing it, I'll tell you. It's just so much fun. And then at the end of it, you've like, wow, this is really cool. And then, of course, as we have done the big broadcast, I bring some of these things back because they're already done. So
I've never had the talent to do that kind of a thing. My daughter actually showed me that when she was in high school, started showing me how she was learning to do that. And it just blew my mind that she could do this and I couldn't. So, but not to say that's a bad thing. And that's where I learned it from Patrick Kennedy here at the high school. He was helping me learn what's all inside a jazz piece.
Yep.
And that's when I worked, when my daughter was with the high school over there, that's when I started learning what jazz was and really appreciated what goes on behind it. Hearing it on the radio never meant much to me. Seeing it happen on stage was amazing. And then having to PA the thing, even more. Yeah, it just all of a sudden I'm catching all the pieces, paying attention. And that's, to me, that's the artist. And it's the reason I'm behind the scenes.
The thing I think is so exciting about this music of this period, I didn't know anything about the Andrews Sisters growing up until Bette Midler recorded Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and other artists. And then Bob Fosse, the musical theater director and choreographer, took some of this music and turned it into a Broadway show called Dancin'. But now, programs like Jazz a la Mode on New England Public Radio, or this new program that's coming out of California, it's an internet radio called Phonotone Classics. They're doing big bands music from Great Britain and Europe and Germany and the continent, which is fascinating music, and it's got rhythm and a beat, and it's stuff that I never heard growing up. And I think that this music form for a lot of people is getting a renaissance. People are going, wow,
agreed.
I want to hear swing and I want to hear big band.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, we're going to jump one more break today. We're here with Mark Gianfrido and Mark Auerbach. We're talking about the big broadcast. That was kind of the whole reason we came in, and we've lots of offshoots beyond that, but nothing wrong with that. We're really enjoying this talk. Appreciate that. This is JP Luca with JP's Golden Age of Radio and JP's Talk About Town. We'll be back right after this.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Placek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for community programming on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. Visit bettsplumbing.com or 14 Coleman Avenue, Westfield. Public welcome.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com. With the Xfinity Double Play and Xfinity Triple Play, you can choose to bundle Comcast services for a great value. Experience Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Explore all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area on the web at xfinity.com. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Friday mornings is something different on 89.5 FM. It's JP's Talk About Town.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
JPEG Luca, Mark Auerbach, and Mark Gianfrido, all here talking about the big broadcast at Mount Holyoke College, happening on Saturday, March 3rd. Tickets are available.
Tickets are available at the Fine Arts Center at UMass. They are available at the Odyssey Bookshop, and they'll be available for both performances at 2 and 7:30 at the door.
And just in case there's a big old snowstorm that does happen in March, we'll do it the next day.
Well, hopefully, since Brian Lapis is in the show and he's got a direct line to the weather people, I'm sure hoping we'll get a replay of Wednesday when it was like 75 degrees.
Goodness. That was fabulous.
Yeah, and I've got to drop a note to Brian thanking him for that. 72 it made it to here.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I'm driving through downtown, and I mean, there's kids out with their families, and they're riding bikes, and the dogs, and I'm going, wait a minute, why are the kids out? I forgot it was vacation week.
Well,
those kids.
In my neighborhood, it was flip-flops and short season. It was great.
Yeah, it was okay. Good. A little preview of summer. It's not too far away. We talked, you had mentioned Mount Holyoke is a big supporter of what you do. Obviously, it's clearly a lot of fun, as you said, a lot of work, but the students learn from it, most importantly. It can't happen without the support of the college or your sponsors that help you out and help put this together for you. Who are some of the sponsors that have climbed on board with you?
Well, we've Loomis Communities has been with us now for a number of years.
Loomis was, I think, our first sponsor, and WWLP TV. And they were involved because Brian and Dan Elias had been involved from the get-go, and they thought it was a good project. The Republican and Mass Live are sponsors as well, and other people have come in to provide things. For example, Prime Magazine, which is a magazine for seniors, did a ticket giveaway for us this year, and Mercedes-Benz of Springfield helped us launch the social media component of the show. And Mount Holyoke College itself is a major sponsor. So we've been very lucky over the years, and we've had other sponsors that have stepped to the plate when times are good and they are sponsoring things in the community. But we've got councils of aging that are spreading the word among their populations and stuff. So the community is totally behind it.
Well, yeah, and word of mouth for anything like this is huge. Now, Mark, you do marketing for a lot of people in the area. That's an art form in itself.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to get sponsorship right now in Western Mass because the businesses have had rough times. But that when they come back year after year after year, that you've got a product that's good. And the one thing that we can say to a company or a business, we're going to fill it up with 2,000 people will see it over the course of a weekend, and it's a high-quality event. And it's got a track record. This is not a one-shot deal. We're on number 13.
Lucky number 13.
That's right.
The big broadcast happening at Mount Holyoke College on March 3rd at 2 and 7:30. Okay, I keep forgetting the 30. So,
watch out, the matinee gets filled fast.
It does. Because the other one's past my bedtime. So
well, the nice thing, we actually made the Saturday night performance a little later than we did when we had it on Sunday, and people had to go to work the next day. But at 7:30, you can come up to South Hadley and grab a meal beforehand, and there are a couple of decent restaurants around, within walking distance.
Yeah, right across the street.
Yeah, the Village Commons and the Yard House and all of that. So
Mount Holyoke has a brand new dining commons that I hear is really good.
I haven't been, but
it's awesome.
It is.
Really awesome.
They redid the whole thing.
They love it. You can get anything you want there. It's incredible.
As producers, as actors, do you like doing 2 shows in a day, or would you rather have one each evening?
That's an interesting question. I mean, it would be lovely to do maybe 2 days, but because of the nature of the hair,
okay,
it's a lot easier for the students because they're not used to pin
Makeup,
curling and all of that stuff.
Once.
Let's keep it all in one day, and I'm completely fine with that. So yeah.
I have to shout out again to my friend Pat Kennedy up at the high school. We did War of the Worlds a few years ago, a local War of the Worlds in Western Massachusetts. Same thing, radio play, on stage, live.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And we had Pat Kennedy's jazz band as part of that. When I had no idea, one of the students' moms was big into makeup and costumes. The whole band came in period costume, and the girls had the hair up, and I was blown away. I had no idea that was all going to happen, and we've still got a great picture of that at home. So, yeah, you're right. I can't imagine that's easy to do.
And it's also wonderful because they walk on campus in between shows, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And it actually, a lot of the students go, "Oh, we got
marketing opportunity. We need sandwich boards."
Right.
So that would be old school, and I love that. So, last chance. One more chance to talk about
well,
your
one
shows.
thing we'll say is that if we didn't get to it today, I'm stepping in for Patrick Berry for the Westfield News Show for the month of March. And next Thursday, among my guests is Mark Gianfrido. And I wasn't going to ask Mark all too much about the big broadcast. I had another thing I want to talk more about, people involved in the creative economies in Western Mass. But if anybody thinks of something, let us know, because I'll talk about the big broadcast with Mark forever.
How can they get a hold of you, especially if you're going to be doing the Thursday show? What's the best way to find you?
They could call in here on Thursday morning and...
because we're doing it from the studio here.
I'm doing the entire month of March for Patrick right here in the studio.
Okay.
And for those people that listen to the Westfield News Show, generally Patrick has somebody from Westfield talking for the entire 2 hours about a specific Westfield issue. I'm going to be bringing in 3 guests over the course of the 2 hours and talk about a few more regional kinds of things. So next Thursday, I'll have Kathy Tobin from Bay State Health's Foundation to talk about the upcoming Bay State Noble Ball and some of the other fundraising and community things. And then since the Oscars are on Sunday, March 4th, which is the reason we don't want it to snow on March 3rd, I've got Diane Perlman from the Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative, and we're going to handicap the Oscars, so to speak. Mark will talk about the big broadcast and people that work in the arts in Western Mass, because when Mark's not doing Mount Holyoke, he's at the Berkshire Theater Group in the Berkshires doing musicals.
Can't wait to see. What do you have on tap for this summer? Do we know yet, or anything we can talk about?
Yes, actually, the season's just been announced. I'm going to be musical directing Tarzan, which is a great musical with music by Phil Collins.
So that's based on the Disney movie.
It is.
So it would be it's going to be geared towards kids for the summer?
Yes. It
Excellent.
is a community show, and we have people in it from age 5 to 75. So
now these are actors from the area, from the Berkshire area.
Yes, as well as school children, and it's a great production.
What's the theater you're doing this one in?
At the Great Colonial Theater in Pittsfield.
Wonderful room. Oh my goodness, I love that place. So that sounds great. Well, again, folks, we've been talking with Mark Gianfrido and Mark Auerbach, 2 wonderful names in our area's theater productions. It's